Hello world, it's your friendly neighborhood poet Destro, and the time that I got to cry, I think this was like the first time that I ever like really expressed myself in tears. Most people know me as an expressive artist on stage, but the first time that I ever broke down is years after the actual event. So on my 16th birthday, I lost my mom. And during the whole funeral procession, I didn't cry. And it took years for someone to just really remind me of how much of a blessing my mother was. And they told me to let go, to not really blame myself for her passing, even though I was her only son, still am. So it was her birthday on 27th November. This is 8 years later. 8 years from her passing, and the weight of the world that I had been carrying with blaming myself for everything. When you're an only child, you have this complex, this big brother and little brother complex. So when something goes wrong, you take up the responsibility, even though it wasn't really on you, and I was always pinning everything back to the time my mom passed. Like, no, if mom was here, things would be different. If mom was here, maybe I would have reacted different, and so on and so forth. So I felt like the weight of all of that, including everything I ever blamed myself for, every mistake I made, and how unforgiving I was to myself. It's like it all came crashing down, and it was lifted the moment I just shed tears. I think I cried for like 3 hours straight. I didn't know I was carrying so much pain, but yeah, that was the time I cried. I think the reason why I didn't cry beforehand for all these years was because I grew up with my uncles and cousins, and those were like the male figures in my life, and they always told me, "Don't cry." I'll get into fights with my cousins, and I would want to cry, and they'd be like, "Nope, men don't cry. You got yourself beat, so don't cry." And so I've been holding all of that in all these years.